Give thanks, give thanks. Happy Coronation Day, 1930. November 2nd, 1930, Haile Selassie I was crowned King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering line of the tribe of Judah. This is the day that we must never forget. We must never forget this day of the coronation of the Most High, the Almighty. Ones and ones all over the world are celebrating today. So I come on, I'm live here in Denton. It's almost 6 o'clock in the morning. We're going to start the 6 o'clock morning hour with some chanting. Chanting some Isis to the Most High. We give thanks this day. For this is the day the Most High has made. The psalm today is Psalm 24. Very powerful psalm indeed. For this psalm today is talking about the King of Glory. Who is this King of Glory? Haile Selassie I, the Almighty, is the King of Glory. We are giving thanks this day. Yes, let's... 72 nations bow to Haile Selassie I, 1930, when Haile Selassie I was crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords. We want to give thanks this day. This is the day the Most High has made. Let us rejoice in this day. The chosen few. Let's hear, let's get it. We're going to go live on Facebook. Okay, we gotta get hooked up on Facebook, okay? So we live. This is Ross Ivy. Okay, let's get it set up here. So happy Coronation Day. All around the world we celebrate this Coronation Day of the crowning of Haile Selassie I as King of Kings and Lord of Lords, signifying very important meaning in our spiritual growth as people, especially as Black people. We come from kings and queens, and today is that day that nobody made up. It happened. In Ethiopia, November 2nd, he was crowned. Give thanks and praise. Haile Selassie I. We give thanks for one love. Here we will go and begin with the psalm for today. The psalm today is Psalm 24, the King of Glory. And I will read the psalm in the words of Rastafari, word song that is power, meaning that the words that are used in Rastafari word song that is power, one love, are words of upliftment. In the English language, we have words that may mean several different things. One word may mean several different things. So what we do is we take a positive word and use it for just that one thing. So that's how I'm going to be sharing the psalm this morning. So those of you who say God, Lord, and Jesus, please don't feel offended, because these names were names that were given to us from the oppressor. So I don't want to disrespect anybody's faith if you are not on that level of understanding in terms of the history of Blacks in America, then you're not going to know that. So do your research, find this information out, and here we go with Psalm 24 today. The King of Glory is Psalm of David. The earth is the Most High's. Haile, Selassie the First is earth's rightful ruler and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell therein. For the Most High, Jah Rastafari has founded the earth upon the seas and established the earth upon the rivers. Who shall ascend the hill of the Most High, Selassie the First? Who shall ascend the hill of the Most High, Selassie the First? And who shall stand in the Isla place of the Most High? Isla meaning the happy place. The one who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift up his life to what is false and does not swear deceitfully. That one will receive bless from the Most High, the Almighty Haile Selassie the First, and righteousness from the God, Jah, of salvation, of his salvation. Such is the generation of those who seek the Most High, Selassie the First, who seek the face of the God of Jacob, of the Most High, Jah, Rastafari of Jacob, Selah. So that was verse 1 to 6. It ends with Selah. Now, when we seek the face of the Most High, I have a note in my psalm here that says, seek the face of Jah. And to those who know, that face of Jah is Haile Selassie I, the Almighty of Ethiopia, King of kings, Lord of lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of himself, and earth's rightful ruler, is that Most High. So when we say seek the face of the Most High, this is a face that we seek and that has come in this form in the flesh. Lift up your heads, O gates, and be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the king and queen, because when Selassie first was crowned King of Kings, he also had his queen there as well. So when I look at the king and I look at the queen, I'm looking at the Most High. And then the child, the son or the daughter, that becomes the Almighty, that Trinity. Father, mother, and child. That is the Trinity of the Most High. That the King of Glory may come in. Who is this King of Glory? The Almighty, strong and mighty. The Almighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O gates, and lift them up, O ancient doors, that the King of Glory may come in. Who is this King of Glory? The Almighty, Selassie the First, is the King of Glory. Selah and Selah again. Here ends the psalm for today. So we give thanks on this day that we can come together in unity. We say einity, that we can come together in a solidarity of one love, to know that we have a heritage, that this heritage is rich, is beautiful, is amazing. And when we look at everything in that heritage, we see ourselves. And we see ourselves as wonderful people in terms of contributors to our society. So here we continue with Ras Ivy, the Ark of the Covenant. As we know, that's a story within itself. So as we continue the Chronicles of Carla Mae, I'm going to introduce. My name is Carla Mae. I am the host of Carla Mae, Chronicles of Carla Mae, coming to you. It is early in the morning, but we are going to be streaming all day live to celebrate the Coronation Day, because we don't know what tomorrow brings. We don't know what is going to be happening in the next 2 days when the election takes place here in America. So we want to give thanks this day, and we want to stay close to the righteousness of the Most High, because the world is a wicked place. So we're going to have some readings today. The Chronicles of Carla Mae is a podcast, and this podcast is going to be interviewing people, is going to be interviewing people that know me, people that are in the field I'm in, and people that are not in the field I'm in, but is also going to be interviewed. So we want to look at the agenda for Chronicles of Carla Mae. So the Chronicles of Carla Mae is going to be talking about my experiences through real stories, a podcast that's discussing my life and experiences while interviewing people that know me. The topics going to include teaching, life-changing events from childhood, marriage, home and hospital births, I'm drinking some hot tea because it's every morning I get up, I have to have my herbs, my teas, and drink that. So the Chronicles of Carla Mae is going to be discussing different topics. We're going to be introducing our first topic today, and our first topic is going to be from this book, and we're taking one quote from this book and we're going to talk about it. So it's important for us to remember that there are still good people out there, even though we are in a world right now that is uncertain. It's always been this way, but now it's coming to the forefront. Now we could see it more. Before we couldn't see it, and people were telling you, this is happening, this is going to happen, and nobody was listening. Now it's happening. We talk about Noah, who built the ark. And when he was building the ark, everybody was in their own thing. And nobody wanted to listen to what he had to say. So it's coming to the head now. The Rastafari elders told me, as a matter of fact, in Bordeaux and St. Thomas, long time ago, I would say 21 years ago, and mentioned exactly what's happening today. So those of us who are natural believers, they believe in the natural living of life, and they look at themselves as part of that, reading and being informed and not being sheep to the slaughter is important. So when we look at truth, we have to look at ourselves. Many times, we sometimes try, and it's hard, but we have to. I look at myself. That's why I'm doing the Chronicles of Carla Mae, to expose things about me that that can help somebody else. So this is what it's about. It's about helping other people and being able to put aside your needs for the needs of the collective. So when we look at the Chronicles of Carla Mae, this is what it's going to be. Me, I'm Carla Mae. My grandmother named me Carla Mae. My paternal grandmother, my dad's mom, named me Carla Mae. So that's some significant, even though my born again name is Galo Esat, and that's a whole nother story you'll be hearing about how that the name came about. So I wrote this first night, and I'm going to read it. It's part of the introduction to the podcast. Now, according to the Most High, in the flesh of Jah Rastafari, Haile Selassie I, page 23, chapter 2, section 12, 2.12. There's a quote in here. Chapter 2 is talking about education. And this is important because, as everybody may know, or those of you who don't know, I am graduating with a PhD in family studies. I'm also graduating with a second master's in library science. Currently, I have no job right now. I was teaching as a graduate teaching assistant, and now I am not doing that because of the global pandemic that has impacted everybody's life in terms of livelihood. So as a teacher, as a professor, we're not doing face-to-face, and we're doing online classes. I teach online classes. However, this semester was focused on getting my dissertation through the channels. It had to go through the chair of the department. At first, I had to go through the committee. The committee had to approve it. Thank you, Ras Ivy. Once the committee approved it, then it gets shuffled to the department. The department that I'm in is the Family Studies Department. It's the Human Development, Family Studies, and Counseling Department of Texas Women's University. And this is where the dissertation has to go. So right now, for those of you interested, it has gone from the committee. The committee approved it on September 8th when I had the defense. I defended the dissertation via Zoom. And thank you for those who came and participate and supported that defense and asked some good questions about my research. And once it got approved by the committee, then it goes to the chair of the department. Once the chair of the department already signed it and approved it, now it's in the graduate school of the university. And the graduate school sent me the dissertation, and there's some little typos that I have to fix, and the reference page and little things I need to fix before it gets stamped by the graduate school. So that's where we're at right now. And November 13th is when it's going to be the final day to return it to the graduate school so they can stamp it and be done. Once that happens, that's going to be it. Right now, I'm just awaiting that process to take place. And on December 11th and 12th, Texas Women's University is going to be graduating its students at the Texas Motor Speedway in Texas, Denton, Texas. So that's going to be happening hopefully December 11th and 12th. depending on what's going to happen in the next 2 days with the election. And I'm saying that because there's going to be unrest. I feel it happening, and I just want people to be safe. And I'm just, pleading that we do not become violent, that we become loving people during this time. So as we continue our podcast, Chronicles of Carla Mae podcast, we're opening it up by looking at quotes from Haile Selassie I, because today is the Coronation Day. November 2nd, 1930, Haile Selassie I was crowned King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering line of the tribe of Judah, elect of himself, and earth's rightful ruler. And it's important that we remember our heritage. Those of you who are who study Rastafari and who believe and know that Selassie I is the almighty creator of the universe that came to the earth in the flesh as Emperor Haile Selassie I, direct descendant of Queen of Sheba and King Solomon through the line of Menelik. This is important history, and it's been erased. I didn't know it until I became an adult and learned and studied and found this out. So this is important. This book is The Wise Mind of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. It's edited and forward His Imperial Majesty Prince Ormia S. Selassie. Introduction, Ras Sekou Estafari. So this is a very important little handbook because it's like the book of Proverbs, actually, because it has wise things, wise sayings, wise meanings. And these echo into our lives every day. So I'm going to be sharing quotes from this book in the podcast, in the Chronicles of Carla Mae. So first I'm going to go ahead and read the quote. The possession of degrees alone does not classify anyone as fully educated. I love this quote because people assume because you have all these letters behind your name. I have an Associate of Arts, I have a Bachelor of Science, I have a Master's of Science, I have a second Master's of Science, and then I'm having a PhD. That's 5 degrees. So because the possession of these degrees alone, according to Haile Selassie I, does not classify anyone as fully educated, okay? So I am not going to consider myself as fully educated. You don't have to call me Dr. Sewer. You don't have to call me Dr. Carla. That's not the purpose of being educated or having degrees. Now, I'm starting this podcast with this quote because I am graduating, like I said, with my PhD and library science degree. And I'm speaking, and in speaking with one of my cousins who called me yesterday, actually, the day before this podcast, this live now happening, with knowledge of things I did not know. She's a cousin of mine who's younger than me, okay? And she has got a house. She's going to be refinancing her house. She's got, I don't even have a house, okay? I'm in an apartment. I'm living with my parents in their house. So my point to say is that the possession of degrees alone does not classify anyone as fully educated. It does not. Okay. And my light is going out here, but okay. It does not classify anyone as fully educated because, as you can see, yes, I may be fully educated, but there are things that I am lacking knowledge in. Okay. I may know about parent involvement, family engagement, the research and all that stuff, but I don't know it all. And this podcast is to enlighten people about that it doesn't matter how many degrees you have, you still might be an educated fool. Okay, and I feel like an educated fool because this is certain information my younger cousin knows I didn't know. Okay, now, well, I know about it. However, I never knew how to do it and how to be firm in implementing certain things when it comes to your credit, when it comes to money, when it comes to investing that money, etc. So that is where I'm lacking in that knowledge. Okay. Now, my younger cousin, okay, to me got her PhD in how to work and invest in your future and your children's future. When when they're grown and out here in the world trying to make it for themselves, they can already have a head start instead of them growing up with name brand clothes and no house of their own or no land to speak of, where they can plant some trees, fruit trees, and all other trees to heal their bodies and feed their brains with nourishment that creates healthy growth, development, building synapses and connecting, firing, creating more knowledge to solve more of the problems that the world seems to be creating or making or whatever it is called now. So my point is, giving children an education does not just mean book sense education. It also means common sense of and maneuvering in the world we're in. If children are growing up learning the ABCs and not knowing that those ABCs are going to be used to get a house, to earn credit. In America, credit is a big deal. Sometimes people don't know that. And then they go spending, and they have nothing left. So it is so key to know what we're doing with our money, especially as Black Americans, Black people. We spend the most money. We spend it on holidays that are not representing of us. We spend it on, hair. We spend it on things that are making us to look like or to be like somebody that we're not in terms of our heritage. Okay, fine. If you don't want to embrace your heritage, you want to embrace someone else's, that's fine too. However, know that when you do that, there are consequences majorly, because you have children coming up, that this cycle of following a lie is going to continue. We teach our children, we just had Halloween, right? We teach our children Halloween, and we teach them all these different things, but we never teach them their heritage. Did you know Haile Selassie first was crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and he is represented in the Bible? Ethiopia is in the Bible 41 times, even though the Bible has been skewed, it's been rewritten, language has been upturned in there to confuse us. That's why I read it the way that I do. So now is the time to remember our heritage, remember our Almighty Creator. And I must tell the coming generation, as Psalm 78 teaches us. And Psalm 78 is very powerful because it teaches us that we as adults have a job to do when it comes to educating our children and telling the next generation of this important, significant heritage that we have. So I'm going to read Psalm 78. Psalm 78, that was the psalm for yesterday. And it reads this way. Give ear, O my people, meaning listen. Give ear, meaning give your ear to me and listen to the teachings of the Most High. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. Okay? And the words of my mouth, the words of the Most High mouth is in these words. Okay? I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings from of ancient times, things that we have heard and known, that our fathers and mothers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, but tell to the coming generation the glorious works of Haile Selassie I and the mightiness and the wonders that the Most High has done. The Most High Selassie I established a testimony in certain ones and appointed a law in Ethiopia. Now, the scripture says Israel. That's another podcast that I'm going to talk about in terms of why is it Israel and not Ethiopia, and what's happening there. Okay? Which the Most High commanded our fathers and mothers to teach to their children, that the next generation might know them, the children yet unborn, and arise and tell them to their children, so that they should set their hope in the Most High and never forget the works of the Most High. This is important because we are on November 2nd, we are not going to forget the coronation, but we're going to keep the commandments of one love, loving everyone, even the enemy, even the wickedness of the wicked. We love them from a distance, and they will stay over there because wickedness don't love. Okay, so if you keep yourself in love and in one love, you're going to ward off all the wickedness. They're not going to come around you. Okay, so it's important to know that. And we must not forget. Okay, excuse me. And that they should not be as their fathers and mothers, stubborn, rebellious generation, a generation whose heart was not steadfast, whose righteousness was not faithful to God, to the Most High. Okay, these are the people in Noah's time who were actually, just being out there doing all kinds of wrongness. Okay, and there's a whole list of that. But there were certain ones armed with the bow, they called the Ephraimites. They were armed with the bow. They turned back on the day of battle. They did not keep the Most High covenant. Okay, but refused to walk according to the law, to the Most High law of one love. They went and did evil things, fighting people, shooting people. We are not doing that. They forget the works of the Most High and the wonders that the Most High had shown them in the sight of their fathers and mothers. Selassie first performed wonders, speaking to the League of Nations in the land of Egypt, which is today the land that we're in the fields of Zoan, which is a name that they gave a certain place, which is the name today. And the Most High divided the sea and let them pass through it and made the waters stand like a heap. In the daytime, he led them with a cloud, and all the night with a fiery light. He split rocks in the wilderness and gave them drink abundantly as from the deep. He made streams come out of the rock and caused waters to flow down as rivers. Yes, Selassie I. You have to get away from looking at Selassie I just as in the flesh, because he has come full circle from the flesh. All right. Yet ones have sinned still more against the Most High. They're still fighting each other. They're still fighting with their families. They're still fighting, fighting and continuing to antagonize and fight, rebelling against the righteousness of the Most High. In the desert, these people were, okay? They tested the Most High in their heart by demanding the food that they wanted. They wanted some biscuits and Popeyes or whatever. They spoke against the Most High, saying, can God spread a table in the wilderness? Okay, always doubting, is God going to provide for us? What's going to happen? So the Most High struck the rock so that water gushed out and streams overflowed. And can the Most High also give bread or provide meat for his people? Therefore, then the Most High, Selassie first heard. He was full of wrath. A fire was kindled against these ones who were not doing the right thing. And his anger rose against Ethiopia. They says Israel here. But the anger of the Most High is rising against places that have fallen away from Soradokna, doing good. Okay, we have a lot of religious war. There's fighting, and we always say peace in the Middle East. Why is that? Because there's fighting constantly. So the anger of the Most High is rising against these places because they did not believe in him and did not trust in the saving power of the Most High. They trusted in their own wealth, their own money, their own everything, instead of trusting that, guess what? You're going to be okay. All right? Yet he commanded the skies above and opened the doors of heaven and rained down on them manna to eat and gave them the grain of heaven. Man ate the bread of the angels. He sent them food in abundance. He caused the east wind to blow in the heavens. And by his power, he let out the south wind and he rained meat on them like dust. So all of this was, this is like an allegorical story. However, the Most High, you have to understand, is supernatural powers. So these supernatural powers happened, and winged birds like the sand of the seas, he let them fall in the midst of their camp all around their dwelling. So they had chicken, they had the birds, the fowl of the air, they had their meat. The Most High gave to them, okay? And they ate and were well filled, okay? For he gave them what they craved. But before they had satisfied their craving, while the food was still in their mouths, the anger of the Most High rose against them, and he killed the strongest of them and laid low the young men of Ethiopia. In spite of all this, they still sinned. Despite his wonders, they did not believe. So he made their ways vanish as a breath, and their years in terror. When he killed them, they sought him. They repented and sought God earnestly. So God had to destroy them in order for them to realize this. Okay? That's why when we see Black men being killed by the police, constantly being killed by the police, this is a sign. It's a sign of the times that's been happening all the time, and now it's coming to the forefront. What is it telling us? As people, white, Black, all people, what is it telling us? That we have to look at the higher power, okay? That higher power above us. We can harness it within us once we are about one love, okay? They repented and sought God earnestly. They remembered that God, the Most High, was their rock, the Most High God, their Redeemer. But they flattered him with their mouths. They lied to him with their tongues, saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they never do it. Their heart was not steadfast toward him. They were not faithful to the covenant of the Most High. Yet the Most High, being compassionate and being a loving Almighty, atoned for their iniquity and did not destroy them, restraining the anger often and did not stir up all his wrath. Remembering that they were but flesh, a wind that passes and comes not again. How often they rebelled against him in the wilderness and grieved him in the desert. They tested the Most High God, Almighty Jah Rastafari, again and again, and provoked the Holy One of Ethiopia. It says Israel, okay, we're going to have a conversation about that. They did not remember his power or the day when he redeemed them from the enemy, when he performed his signs in Egypt and his marvels in the fields of Zoan. These are places of ancient times. Today, they are different names. Just like the name of the Most High in this Bible, God, Lord, and Jesus, it's a different name. It's a new name, okay? And in order for us to fully praise him, we have to fully praise him in that new name, all right? He turned their rivers to blood, so that they could not drink of their streams. He sent among them swarms of flies, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. He gave their crops to the destroying locusts, and the fruit of their labor to the locusts. So all their crops, their fruits and stuff, guess who were given to? He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamores with frost. He gave over their cattle to the hail and their flocks to thunderbolts. He let loose on them his burning anger, wrath, indignation, and distress, a company of destroying angels. Okay? There are angels that the Most High sends to do certain things. Okay? And we have to be aware of that. He made a path for his anger. He did not spare them from death, but gave their lives over to the plague. We are in a plague right now, right? Okay. He struck down every firstborn in Egypt, the first fruits of their strength in the tents of Ham. Then he led out his people like sheep and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. He led them in safety so that they were not afraid. But the sea overwhelmed their enemies. Okay, this is a story of Moses and Pharaoh when Moses said, let my people go. And Pharaoh was like, okay, you all get out of here. Pharaoh let them go, but Pharaoh's like, I'm going to get them still. And Pharaoh went behind them and the sea was parted. Moses and the people went through. And Pharaoh, when his people went through, the waters tumbled in on them and overwhelmed them. And he brought them, and the Most High brought Moses and his people to the island land, to the Holy Land, to the mountain which his right hand had won. He drove out nations before them. He appointed them for a possession and settled the tribes of Ethiopia in their tents. Yet they tested and rebelled against the Most High Jah and did not keep the testimonies of the Most High, but turned away and acted treacherously like their fathers. They twisted like a deceitful bow. So even though the Most High did all these things, they still did not listen. For they provoked him with their anger, provoked him to anger with their high places. Okay, they moved him to jealousy with their idols. So the world gives you all this stuff and high places, and you have idols. You have the TV, you have money, you have food. You know, these things become idols in your lives. And I posted something and I said, what can you live without? What are things that you can live without? I posted that on Facebook, I believe. But it's important to know that the Most High is moved to jealousy when you have in your heart other things that mean more to you than the Most High. And when the Most High takes those things away, you're hurt badly because you put all your heart in that. You have to put your heart in your heart, all of it into the Most High, the Creator who made you, because other things are falling away. All right. I always tell my children, when they were little, I said, I am just your caretaker. You belong to someone higher than me. And that's who you need to try to look to, because, we are just a mist. Okay. Now, when the Most High heard, the Most High was full of wrath, and the Most High utterly rejected Ethiopia. Okay. He forsook his dwelling at Shiloh, the tent where he dwelt among mankind, because the Most High dwelt among humans, all right? And delivered his power to captivity, his glory to the land of the enemy. He gave his people over to the sword and vented his wrath on his heritage. Fire devoured their young men, and their women had no marriage song. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentation. Then the Most High awoke as from sleep. Because the Most High don't sleep, but that's like the Most High awoke. Even though the Most High don't sleep, the Most High just awoke. Okay, and their widows are like a strong man shouting because of wine. And he put his enemies to rout. He put them to everlasting shame. He rejected the tent of Joseph. Okay, remember Joseph, his brothers did that to Joseph. That's another podcast. I'm going to talk about Joseph. He did not choose the tribe of Ephraim. Okay, so when the Most High got so woke woke, even though he's always awake, he woke to say, I'm rejecting Joseph, the tent of Joseph. I'm not choosing Ephraim. Who did the Most High choose? The tribe of Judah, Mount Zion, which the Most High loves, and built a sanctuary as the high heavens, as the earth, which the Most High has founded from such time ago, and chose David, his servant, his Selassie the first. Okay, look at the link, the connection. His servant David, and took him from the sheepfolds, from following the nursing ewes. The female sheep are called ewes. He brought him to shepherd Jacob, his people, Ethiopia, his inheritance. With upright heart, he shepherded them and guided them with his skillful hand. Selah and Selah again. Here ends the Psalm 78 that was yesterday, the day before the coronation, talking about the generations that are coming after us, how important it is to tell the coming generations of this, and it's important to do so. So we are live, the Chronicles of Carla Mae. We are live here on YouTube. March 1st, 1896 was the Battle of Adowa. March 1st starts off Women's History Month. March 1st was the Battle of Adowa in 1896. Okay, Haile Selassie the first came on the earth as the Most High again in 1892, July 23rd, 1892. And then 4 years later, we have the Battle of Adowa, March 1st, 1896. So when we look at the significance of our heritage and the significance of our culture, we want to embrace it all. We want to embrace who we are, where we are, what we are, why we are, and how we are to be in our future. So with that being said, let's get our some music back on, forwarding on with Ras Ivy and the family as we celebrate this day, the Coronation Day.
Centenary of His Divine Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, the 225th birth of Solomon and Sheba, who lived and reigned for life. Just say together around Jah,
Oh, yeah. Yes, Haile, Haile. Yes, to the rivers, to the ends of the earth. This is artwork that I did of the Most High. This is a coronation painting for today. It's one of the angels coming on the horse, the white horse, holding the fire stick. Lion of Judah. Jah throne Ethiopia's and Maria's one. And praises. Yes. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. Of Judah. Let's find a way to put this up. Lion of Judah, centenary. Yes. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. We are going to give thanks. Today is the Coronation Day. November 2nd, 1930, Haile Selassie I was crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of himself and earth's rightful ruler. We give thanks this day and all the time. We are going to have 1 hour live sessions all day today. We are just finishing up our first hour, and I want to say thank you guys. Those of you who are on here live, those of you who are not, I'm going to see this later. Come and return for the next couple hours. Every hour, you're going to be hearing Chronicles of Carla Mae podcast. Today's a special day. So Chronicles of Carla Mae is coming to you all day today. We're going to be having 1 hour sessions. Our next hour is coming up this morning. We had our first hour session at 6 o'clock this morning. We're going to have a next one coming up maybe at 8, but stay tuning because these are 1 hour sessions we're going to be having today on the Coronation Day. We give thanks for this is the day the Most High has made. Let us rejoice in this day and let us give thanks for this day. This is the Coronation Day, November 2nd, 1930, the Coronation Day. I may have some guests later on, so stay tuned. I'm going to be introducing some guests to Chronicles of Carla Mae. I may have 1 or 2 of one of my births that I gave birth to who may be interviewing with me today. So stay tuned because we have a full day of Chronicles of Carla Mae. A full day. Okay, this is our first hour. I'm going to take a short break and we will return again for another hour of Chronicles of Carla Mae, celebrating the Coronation Day today, November 2nd, 1930. Haile Selassie I was crowned. See you later. Return again all day today. Okay, that was